Create good content. By creating good content, that leads to conversations. Great conversations lead to building community. A good community establishes brand authority. Brand authority validates your content. Validated content shows value. High value generates demand and creates opportunity. Opportunities lead to money. When you get these opportunities, deliver every single time. Then repeat the process. I Digress is brought to you by the HubSpot Podcast Network, the audio destination for business professionals. By shedding light on the stories behind the shiny resumes, social media highlights, and job titles, No Straight Path, hosted by Ashley Menzies Babatunde, aims to humanize success from the millennial perspective. Featuring guests from all walks of life, No Straight Path aims to inspire conversations around the nuanced perspective of success. How do you define success, overcome failure, and endure life's unanticipated challenge? No Straight Path covers all of that and more. Recent episodes like Success is Maximizing Happiness, Finding Your Voice, and Success is Communal is all intent to help you see all the different layers it takes to be successful and what success really means in a modern era. Listen to No Straight Path wherever you get your podcasts. Good content is only determined by the actions taken by those who consume it. Perception is reality to your consumer. So regardless of how long it took you to create the content, who was involved, the energy, the money, the time, all of it, to get it to the point where the consumer is actually reading it, seeing it, watching it, doesn't matter. In episode 39, quality versus quantity, content creation versus content distribution, I emphasized this over and over and over again. Nobody cares how long it took you to create and distribute that content. All they care about is consuming it consistently and matching the quality that lands in their mind valuable for them to continue to consume your content and also take the actions by which the call to action of the content pushes out to them to do. That's it. That's all. So it is your prerogative. It is your mission to consistently distribute content in a way that people can consume it in a way that makes sense. Therefore, it is your job to eliminate the friction to distribute the content. I don't care how amazing your content is. If you don't distribute it enough, no one can see it. No one can consume it. No one can take action from it. Most focus on the creation of the content, but 75% of the content is really in distribution. It is imperative that you eliminate the friction to distribute. That's why I'm re-emphasizing this again, because I'm seeing it as we're going toward the end of this year, 2022. We're entering into 2023, and not to date this episode, but people still deal with the same thing as they go off to the end of the year. They're either trying to batch content for next year, they're trying to create content predicting what's going to happen, the future of this, the future of that, all these things. And then they only post it at the beginning of the year or at the end of the previous year, and they don't repurpose, repackage, and redeliver that content again. I'm telling you, not everyone saw the content. Just how I put out these episodes. Not everyone in my circles, in my social media community, in my expanded community, whether online or offline, have not listened to every episode of I Digress, have not listened to the most recent episode of I Digress. And if they have, maybe they haven't even retained the full depths of the content I delivered in that episode. And so it's up to me to then repackage and redeliver that content as audiograms and long form and short form posts on LinkedIn, as Twitter threads on Twitter, as videos on YouTube, as keynotes and very focused conversations on stages or live streams or guest podcast appearances. It's my job to repackage and redistribute that content to touch as many people as possible.
What's up, digital world? You're listening to the I Digress audio experience with Troy Sandidge. Social media, marketing, storytelling, business, culture, and more. Coming to you in 3, 2, 1.
Here's what I don't want you to do ending off this year and going into next year. Complaining about how much effort, how much money, how much time it took you to do those reels, those blog posts, those podcast episodes, those videos, the events, all of that. And you're saying, I'm not getting the ROI that I want from it. Well, did anyone ask you to create that content? Was there enough demand to justify that time, effort, and energy for that content? If not, that's on you. Let me give you some tough love. If you're going to create, you're going to make the demand to justify that content, or you're going to meet the demand and create content for it. Again, you're either going to make the demand from your content or meet the demand with your content. Whatever lane you choose, stay consistent with that lane and see it through. If you have a product, a service that is not 100% utilized the way it could be, and you're creating a demand for it, well, yeah, you're going to be leading the way. You're going to be that trailblazer. Every startup, every business with a new MVP is in that lane of trailblazer. You're alone trying to create demand and the need and attracting as a big, gigantic magnet to attract the people to use your product or your service. We've seen that with a lot of products. Zoom, one of them. Slack, another one. Various platforms. TikTok, another one. You created the land and built it in a way to attract the demand, the trailblazer. On the flip side, you've identified there's a heavy demand, and now I need to create content to meet that demand, to drive people to where I'm from, to use my product, to use my service. Either case, you have to stick with it, with the content plan. And a lot of that comes down to constant distribution. It is a volume game, so to speak. It's time to take control of your social media marketing. Stay organized, save time, and easily manage your social media with Agorapulse's inbox, publishing, reporting, monitoring, and team collaboration tools. As the ecosystem of social media is constantly changing, constantly evolving, social media managers and their counterparts need a one easy-to-use solution loaded with powerful features to help them navigate the digital world. One tool for publishing, scheduling, monitoring, listening, and reporting, all inclusive, all at your fingertips, with over 31,000 social media managers using this tool daily. Agorapulse packs a ton of features on a unified social inbox, intuitive publishing, social listening, insightful analytics, and social media ROI, where you can easily see what posts and conversations are driving sales, leads, and traffic, and that's without being a Google Analytics expert. With some of the best support in the business. Rated number 1 on Capterra, number 1 support on G2 Crowd, 96% user satisfaction score, and a 30-minute response time. With that amount of support, an all-inclusive turnkey one-platform solution with some of the best pricing for growing teams, you can't lose. And as an exclusive for the I Digress podcast listeners, you can get 2 free months using the Agorapulse tool for free at social.agorapulse.com/findtroy. The link to the 2 free months, more information about Agorapulse, as well as some key insights I've shared on Agorapulse's social media pulse community will be in the show notes. You are pushing content out as diligently, as consistently as you can, and testing out which audiences, which locations, which words, which platforms, which mediums, which times of day is going to give you the best results. And so if you're not tracking the effects of your content, not just in vanity metrics of likes and comments and shares, but the actual social ROI of it, you're going to have a hard time justifying or positioning your content to reap the benefits of it. This is where data analytics come in. This is where tracking comes in. This is where social listening comes in to play here to make sure the moves that you're making in the creation and the distribution is justifiable for the ROI you get back. It has to replenish the amount of time and energy you put into it. There's only so much you can do off of vanity metrics and hope one day it'll land somewhere. Would you mind doing a quick mental exercise with me? It'll only take a second. Imagine for a moment you're at work and suddenly you and your team are perfectly connected. I mean, perfectly aligned, 100%. There's no miscommunication, nothing falling through the cracks. You are totally 100% in sync, a collaborative, intuitive, and motivated force of nature. How does that feel? Pretty good, right? HubSpot helps you and your teams connect so you can always be in sync. With shared access to the same customer data, you and your teams can see the full customer picture. HubSpot's powerful CRM platform powers you and your teams to fiercely collaborate and power exceptional customer experiences so you can scale fast together. Learn how HubSpot can help your business grow better at HubSpot.com. The other thing I want to call out is Yes, we live in a world now where everyone needs to be a media production company. Very valid and very true. But there's a difference when you're creating content to be a content creator and being paid by the platform that you create the content on versus creating content to drive people to a landing page, to a product, to a service to be bought to make you money directly. And many times, especially if you're a solopreneur, you are an executive who's trying to create content to show your thought, leadership, and authority, or you're SMB, or you are a media company specifically, you are leaning toward the creator content realm of thinking with your content versus the business savvy driving people from awareness to action with your content. Those are two different things. And sometimes people are treading the line and they're not really clear on which one they need to be. And they're not really clear about which one they actually are from the perception or the lens of the very audience they're trying to speak to. And I hope that you understood where I'm coming from, because it's not enough to share all this content all the time from your own vantage point. If you're not doing a pulse check to make sure it makes sense to the people who actually consume it. That's why people ask me all the time with I Digress. If you've noticed, some people have texted me and sent me screenshots of going back to past episodes that I've done. And it blows my mind and it makes me feel good. And also makes me feel a little nervous because I was a little rough back then. But maybe y'all liked me more back then because I was more genuine. I was a little rough back then, but I digress. But when I look back at those past episodes to now and the changes that I've made to improve on this show was 1000% because of me listening to the very people who were consuming and not just in this preconceived notion of what Troy thinks my content should be about. Let me give you an example. And there's still traces of it throughout my podcast. Please don't be mad at me. I'm working on making modification changes for some of my past episodes. I want to be very creative and different with my show. So much so that I did want to give actual titles. I gave hashtag titles, and I thought that was really cool. You know what the problem with that was? It's not searchable. Therefore, if I was talking about growth marketing strategies, if I was talking about branding, if I was talking about how to make more money, if I was talking about financial freedom, if I was talking about operations, RevOps, motivation, me putting hashtag motivational goals for 2022 as a hashtag won't pull up any results because it's just one joggled up word. The creative intent was there, but the execution wouldn't make sense. Listening to people and saying this is how this works in the podcast world, you have to treat it like almost a YouTube channel. Make the titles more captivating and searchable with keywords people can understand and search for. You'll get more listeners. Boom. Made the changes. Took a few months. Boom. More listeners. Amazing. Wow. Awesome. Great. Totally amazing. Totally awesome. Totally great. But I digress. All because I listened. And sometimes we can get too defensive in our planning of our content marketing because it's ours versus not take it so much as taking it so personal. And instead, this is an opportunity for you to actually be better about the output of the content that you put out in the world.
And that's a wrap. We hope you enjoyed this episode of I Digress. What was your takeaway? Care to share your thoughts and tag Troy on social media? You can find him on all platforms at Find Troy. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review or comment for this episode from wherever you're listening. Looking for a marketing strategist to build the structure, strategies, and systems you need to get the success you want and the ROI you desire in your business? Book a discovery call to talk with Troy at findtroy.com. And as Troy's philosophy goes, imagination is the engine, content is the fuel, social media is the highway, marketing is the roadmap, sales is the destination, culture is the GPS. Thanks for listening.